Hello everyone, Kaz Elkin here with the first real video in the Beginner to Pro series, and I mean real video because this is the first time that I've actually done any coding. So I am now 1 week into this personal project where I aim to go from being a complete novice at coding with no experience whatsoever to hopefully landing a job in the not too distant future. So I now have spent 1 week at my computer learning how to code. I have recorded my time entries throughout the week, so you'll be able to see how my time has been spent. There isn't as much time as I might have hoped for my first week, but I have been a bit busy this week with other stuff, so I haven't been able to spend every day coding, unfortunately. But I managed to get some good time down, and you'll be able to see that when I take you through my time entries. I've also saved some of the code that I've written in this first week, so basically focused on beginner exercises and beginner small projects that kind of just go over the fundamentals, but I'll be able to show you what I've made during the week, and you can see kind of what a week's worth of practice looks like when you have a look at some of the things that I've been able to make. So hopefully that'll be useful as well. So jumping straight into it, we have my dashboard for the week. So I'm using Toggl, which is just kind of like this it's this timer app where you effectively just type in what you're doing at any given time, and then you press play, and it basically just records how much time you're spending on whatever it is that you're doing, and then when you've finished, boom, it goes onto your time entry sheet. So this is what I've done for pretty much everything that I've done on throughout the week. So scrolling down to the bottom, so this was the start of my week. This was Monday. Python Mega Course sections 1 to 3, 3, 4, 5. So I made it up to section 5 on the Python Mega Course. I started with this is the Python Mega Course, started with section 1, introduction, made it all the way up to functions and conditionals. These have nice little exercises in them from time to time as well. See, so they've got this, the person who made this course has a video just explaining the concepts, explaining what you need to know, and then you go away and do it yourself. Pretty handy to have something like this. I'm a big fan of having exercises and problem sets because I do think that's pretty much the only way that you work out what you know and what you don't know. I did, however, use other resources as well. So here we got functions, various resources. So I got up to the functions part in the Python Mega Course, and then decided to go and check out some other resources as well. And something else that I found really useful throughout the first week is this guy on YouTube called CS Dojo. I guess if you watch these kind of videos on YouTube, maybe you've come across CS Dojo. I really like his videos. I found them really helpful. He's got this Python tutorial for absolute beginners, which of course is free because it's on YouTube. And I've watched everything up to number 5, so pretty much repeated what I did for the Python Mega Course on YouTube. Really like these videos. He comes up with exercises to do at the end as well. The comment section can be pretty helpful if you're stuck. I haven't used the comment section or the Q&A function in the Python Mega Course. This course basically has a way where you can sort of submit questions to one of the instructors on the course, and they'll come back and answer the question for you. I haven't used this yet, and I haven't used comment sections on YouTube yet, but I guess it is there if you want it or you need it, or if I want it and I need it, and maybe I will use it at some point in the future. But because I've basically been doing all the really beginner stuff, I actually don't want to go down here and ask a really stupid question yet, which maybe is not the healthiest way of doing things, but there we go. But this guy, CS Dojo, really good. Found him on the first day, and I like the videos. And then for the second day, we had 6 hours on the second day. Revisited a bit of section 5, sections 8 and 9, 10, 11, 12. So 10, 11, 12, the course basically, as I explained in my previous video, which is the resource selection video, this Python Mega Course is based around building 10 real-world applications, and the first application starts at section 13. So I had this idea where I was like, okay, in the first week, if I can just get through all the basics, all the way to the end of section 12, and then watch them and try and learn everything up here, and then start the first application maybe in the second week. That was what I was thinking. So I kind of rushed my way all the way to section 12, which covers important modules. So I went through on this second day, process and input, loops, building a program, but I'll come to that in a minute. That's kind of like a beginner exercise that I did. List comprehensions, a bit more function, file processing, and important modules. So these are all just, you know, really basic cornerstones of Python. And then I thought, okay, if I just rush through these, maybe I'll be able to start the thesaurus in the second week. And that's what I did. But although, you know, if you look at my time entries, you would think, oh, on Tuesday I was pretty much done with the basics. I actually spent the rest of the week revisiting those basic sections and trying to make sure that I had a firm understanding of the basics later on in the week. So I tried the initial part of creating a thesaurus. I have this approach basically for all of these beginner exercises where I will watch it, I will see what this person wants me to build. So I go on here, I'll see what this guy's trying to ask me to build, and then I will pause the video or you know, not look at the solution at all, and I'll go away and I'll try and make it myself, and then I'll come back and I'll compare how I tackle the problem with how whoever it is that's given the exercise has tackled the problem. And I realized when I got to the creating the thesaurus, so on Tuesdays, this was the day 2 of coding, this was on my second day, I realized when I actually tried creating the thesaurus that I did not have a strong enough grasp of all these things that he explained to me before, and so I actually needed to go back and revisit them. So I did just revisit in for the back end of the week, basically, and that's reflected in my time entries for the Thursday and Friday as well. So Python basics exercises, I basically went and just did as many exercises as I could on things like functions and loops and user input and stuff like that. Creating small projects. I'm going to show you these in a minute in this video, but you know, went back and basically decided to create small projects using all these fundamentals that I'd learned. Building the sentence maker. Again, I'll explain that in a minute, but that is effectively this section 8 of the Python Mega course. And on Friday, again, just exercises, small projects and revisiting basics. So there's a lot of revisiting. I kind of rushed all the way to section 12. I rushed all the way to kind of like the part of this Udemy course where you would then go away and start building your own application, and then realize that I actually didn't. I'd watched the videos, but I hadn't really taken them in, so I had to go back over them all, and also watch this guy CS Dojo, and then a couple of other YouTube videos as well on some of these basics as well. So moving on now to the projects, the really small projects that I've been doing. This is the actual code that I've written. So if we go here, first of all, this was one from CS Dojo, and one of his videos, he said, oh, okay, so we're gonna go over functions, and we're gonna use functions to make a BMI calculator. And so what I did was I paused the video and decided to have a stab at making my own BMI calculator before I saw him make his. And this is what I came up with. So this was my initial BMI calculator. So I'll show you how it works. Basically, you know, it just asks you for your name, you put your name in, and then asks you for your height and your weight. This isn't my height and weight exactly, but there we go. And then it basically tells you that you're not fat, or that you are fat, depending on whether or not you are or you aren't, and then gives you your BMI. You know, they still say I'm almost fat with those inputs, but that's how I decided to do it. So it's pretty simple little program, nothing to write home about. But I then went back to the CS Dojo video and watched how he did it, and I saw that he basically just used variables. He didn't ask for user input, which is probably because the video in which he made a BMI calculator was before his user input video, so he probably didn't want to do this before he actually got round to explaining it in his videos, which is fair play. So once I saw that he was making a BMI calculator just with variables, I went away and did the same thing as him, and this is what I come up with. So really just sort of prints out the BMI of the people who you put in as variables. So less good than the one that I put, I guess, because you can put in whatever variables you want in here. But like I said, he hadn't gotten to that part of his intro series yet, so and I had, because I'd watched the first 12 sections of the Python Mega course, I actually had gone over user input, so I saw that and I was like, oh, I can just use user input here, and then you just be able to type the height and weight of whoever it is that you want to calculate the BMI for. What else did I do? Oh yeah, I did a little miles to kilometer converter again. Something really basic. So you just basically type in miles and then it will tell you how many kilometers that is. So did this myself as well. I think this was also on CNS Dojo actually. This was one of his kind of like outro exercises where he said, oh, okay, now go away and see if you can put this together. This must have been for his I can't remember which video this was on, but yeah, I went away and I did this, and I didn't even check the solution actually, but I'm assuming that's right. Now we move on to what was probably the hardest beginner exercises, and it's this sentence maker. So this is section 8 on the Python Mega course. So once we got to this point, once we'd finished the section on loops, the Python Mega course instructor basically said, okay, we're going to come up with this program where you type a sentence in. You basically type this and it asks you for some inputs. You say hello. I'll use it as an example, and then when you put -end in, it basically returns your statements back to you in sentences, so capitalization and either a full stop or a question mark. Really useless program, obviously, but I did find it to be a bit of a challenge for my first few days. It took me longer than I care to admit to actually put this together. This is actually the close to the version that the instructor on this Python Mega course did, like his solution to the problem. This was the original one that I made. So when I saw that we were making a sentence maker, I went and tried to put this together, and this is what I came up with. But you'll see that the one downside of mine is that I couldn't get the -end actually out of the list. I could do that now, but when I made this originally, I couldn't do it. So this actually took me quite a bit of time to put together. And I know it looks really simple, but when you just haven't really put together a function for the first time, when you're using these concepts for the first time, little things like this can be quite challenging. But we did it. Not as neat as the instructor's version, not as neat as this version, but I do achieve a really similar result in a different way. So this was really useful because it just lets me compare, how I originally approached the problem with how the instructor on the videos dealt with the problem, and just teaches you different ways of doing things, different ways of thinking, and different ways of sort of structuring what you write, I guess, which is something that I'm starting to appreciate as time goes on. And that's it. Those are the real exercises that I've put together, and those are the bits of code that I've saved to show you for my first week. As I said, nothing flash, but Rome wasn't built in a day, so you've got to start somewhere. One thing that I would say, something to be aware of, anyone else who's starting in their first week, is it's really easy to sit here all day and watch videos, like I did on my first 2 days pretty much. I sat here at my computer watching videos of someone else code, and I thought that I was taking everything in and that I was learning everything, and then I got around to starting my own exercises, and then I realized that I'd pretty much just been glazing over while I've been sat here watching videos, because I hadn't actually been going away and doing the things that I was being taught. So tip for anyone else, tip for myself, I guess, if I could go back and redo my first week, would be to not spend so much time watching other people do it. What I found is that I would watch these beginner videos, and someone would be, the instructor would be kind of like typing on the terminal, and they'd type one line, and I'd be like, oh, that's really simple. And then I think to myself, oh, I don't really need to go away and write that myself because it's so simple. And then they'd write another line in there, and then I think, oh, that's also really simple. I really don't need to go away and write that myself either. But then it gets to the point where towards the end of the video, you're sort of like maybe 10 lines of code in, and although everything looks really simple, if by not going away and doing it myself afterwards, like from scratch myself afterwards, I would just forget it, and then all of these simple things piled on top of each other, I would just forget. And then when I came around to doing an exercise, I'd be like, oh shit, how do I do that again? Or well, whatever I wrote wouldn't work, and then I'd be like, oh, it's not obvious why it's not working. So towards the back end of the week, I really insisted anytime I saw anyone do something that I hadn't done before, or even if I had done it before, I would sort of like pause the video that I was watching, and I would go away and I'd make myself play around with it. I'd make, if it's just something as simple as like creating a list and then getting the mean value of the list, or like the range of a list. I'd see someone do it on a video and I'd be like, oh, that looks really simple, but I'd just pause it and I'd go away and I'd write it myself, and I'd create the mean myself, and I'd play around with different lists, and it was all really obvious. Well, some of the stuff's really obvious, but if by going away and doing it myself, I actually got a lot better. And there's definitely a trap of sitting around watching someone else code all day and then thinking that you're going to learn it and then you don't. So that would be my week 1 top tip, is to however basic something looks, is to actually go away and do it yourself. If it really is that basic, it should only take a few minutes for you to go and do it yourself as well, and then even do it yourself a couple of times, because then you get used to typing it out, and then and then that's how you remember things, doing it yourself. So that's my top tip for week 1. I really enjoyed my first week. I really enjoyed the kind of like logical approach that you have to have to solving problems with Python. And I like the logical approach that you have to creating programs as well, and to writing codes. Yeah, it appeals to me, and it's fun. It's fun to do these exercises, and it's fun to be learning this sort of stuff. So stay tuned for week 2, and I'll catch you next time.